Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Free.
This is the D. Free.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D.
Free.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And joining us for one last time is Josh Adams, stand-up comedian, the funniest undiscovered comedian in the state of Michigan, according to Thrillist. He is skipping down in February. He's going out to L.A., but still a couple more chances to see him. He's going to be at the Senate Theater, and he's also going to be over at the Independent in Hamtramck.
Yep.
Couple shows coming up. Josh, thanks for joining us again today.
Thanks for having me. Y'all about to make me cry about this being my last time, man.
I know. I can see your eyes welling up there.
Chill out. Don't do that.
People come back often, though. We still see Jeff Horst I've seen around, even though he made that trip out there.
Yeah. But it's just sad. People are like, he's not coming back. It's like, chill out. I'll be back.
I know.
Bigger and better, though. It's going to be bigger and better.
Feels like an ending and a beginning all together.
We're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, when we're talking about final farewells here in Detroit, I think we've got to talk about Jimmy Hoffa.
All right, there you
How's
go.
that for a transition?
That was cold. You sweet with this. Transitions is impeccable.
This is part of the lore. I'm not from the Detroit area, but this is part of the lore here in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Is everybody wants to know where Jimmy Hoffa's body's buried.
And what brought this up? The movie, The Irishman?
So that did, but also the other thing that's come out is WDIV Channel 4 has put out a podcast. This is season 4 of their Shattered podcast. And let's actually take a listen and hear the trailer.
Here's a special report from News 4. Investigators are searching a 40-acre field in Oakland County's Waterford Township for what could be the body of missing Teamster leader Jimmy Hoffa.
When I tell people I'm working on a podcast about Jimmy Hoffa, they ask me if we found the body. No, we haven't.
We did not uncover any evidence relevant to the investigation on James Hoffa.
If you're from Michigan, it's almost a rite of passage every summer that there's some dig going on somewhere in the state.
But after 2 weeks of digging, they come up with nothing.
You just grow up with it. It's just, oh yeah, they're digging for Jimmy Hoffa today. What's new?
So that's what season 4 of the Shattered podcast is all about. These guys do a great job over there.
The production is so cool.
Yeah.
And
they've got these archives that they can go back through and all the old
just
news
the
stories.
depth of information.
So random people just go around just digging up stuff looking for Jimmy Hoffa? That's what we do around
Well,
here?
I think a big part of it was that they wanted to put this out at the same time as The Irishman because they knew that was coming out. And The Irishman is basically this guy who confessed to the crime, right? I haven't seen it because every time I look at Netflix, I'm like, 3.5 hours?
It's very long.
It's very long and slow. Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't love about it.
I hate to say it, but, I look at it and I go, maybe a Marvel movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an investment. Yeah.
If ain't no Infinity Stones at the end of it, I don't want to watch it for 3 hours.
No, it's a little underwhelming in my book, to be honest.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of people who think that this is not actually what happened, that this is...
Right. And when we had the chance to go to the preview party for the Shattered podcast, they had this great panel up there. What was there? Seth, the prosecutor and a local organized crime expert. And they're basically like, what is depicted in The Irishman, there's no way that happened. There's no way they brought in a guy from outside because the Detroit mob was very, very tight and very controlled. Like, this is our space.
And they kept making a point of saying, very good at what they do.
Very good.
That
Like, they never got charged for anything.
No, nobody ever flipped. Nobody ever got caught. Like,
No.
So they saying that the Detroit mob wouldn't allow it to happen, or that they might have been the ones who killed?
Yeah, they did it. They kept it
did
in-house. They weren't going to farm it out to Chicago or
Because then they
whatever.
were saying like he might have been buried under like the Giants football stadium. It was a bunch of stuff I heard.
It's in New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yes.
Rensen, I've heard.
But the guy depicted as doing it in The Irishman was from, now I can't remember. Is it Delaware or somewhere else?
Somewhere
else. Someone
another
from out of
state.
town.
Yeah. So they said that just wouldn't happen.
Where do you think the body is?
Bro, I don't know. Maybe it's on the Little Caesars Arena. That went up so fast. I don't know.
Well, it's funny you say that because there's a very workable theory that it's under the Rensen.
Wow. So what do we have to do? Like dig up the Rensen? Like let's just tear it down to see if Jimmy up under there?
I think it's not anywhere. My personal belief is
That it's just
they
gone.
burned
They
it.
burned it. They destroyed it in such a way that...
That's my theory. But what I like about this podcast is it goes way back into the history,
Okay.
like goes back to when Jimmy was a kid and a teenager. And I've never really heard that, even being from here, that whole backstory.
So we've got an excerpt. Let's hear a little bit about that.
The voice you're about to hear next is an actor, but the words are Jimmy Hoffa's, from an autobiography released a few months after he disappeared.
We were paid 32 cents an hour. The problem was that we only got paid for the time actually worked during a 12-hour shift. And sometimes we'd sit around for 5 or 6 hours waiting to be called. For a 48-hour week, we could make $15.36. But the trouble was, we had to put in 70 to 80 hours to get in those 48 hours.
And those were long, hard hours, laboring under a foreman who was a real tyrant.
A solid gold son of a bitch. Actually, he was called a little bastard by all the men. This guy was a real sadist. He thoroughly enjoyed screaming out commands and then cursing a man and threatening to fire him if he didn't move quick enough. He was a little tin Jesus in the warehouse, and the only time he smiled was when he had fired somebody. Quickly, we began to talk union with the night crew, although we knew we would have to wait for exactly the right moment. The little bastard helped more than he knew. For early one morning in May of 1931, 2 waiting workers went outside to eat at a lunch cart. When they came back, he fired them in front of the whole crew.
Several nights later came the perfect opportunity for Hoffa to air the workers' grievances. Some cold storage boxcars carrying fresh strawberries had just arrived at the warehouse.
Once the cars were open and the strawberries were exposed to the air, they would start to spoil immediately. Word was passed around among the men to follow our lead. We waited until we unloaded less than half the strawberries. Then I put down the crate I was carrying and walked to the other end of the dock. The rest of the 175 men in the crew put down their crates too and stood around me. The little bastard couldn't believe his eyes. He turned white and then red, and I thought hopefully he was going to have a heart attack. Then he started screaming, "What the hell you guys think you're doing? Get back to work, goddammit, or every one of you bastards are fired." "The hell with you," I shouted. "We want Mr. Bluff."
Now, Mr. Bluff is the night warehouse manager. He hears this ruckus happening out on the loading docks. Jimmy Hoffa, who now is actually 18 years old, is speaking for the whole group demanding changes. He gets a meeting with Kroger management and negotiates a one-page contract.
Which in Detroit at the time was a major achievement. Management agreed to work out a call time and guaranteed at least a half-day's pay. They also set aside an eating room for the workers and deprived the foreman of the right to summarily fire any worker.
And so began Jimmy Hoffa's career as a labor organizer.
The next thing I did was to bring the men on the day shift into our little union. And in these efforts, and in the continuing meetings with Kroger officials, I began to learn the basics of union work. That when you talk to workers, you better look them in the eye and know what you're talking about, because they pretty quick can tell a phony.
I wish I were that big of a badass.
I know, right?
I mean, over strawberries to throw down. Is,
Yeah. And he was 18, 19. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
So you couldn't do it, Seth?
I was
don't
not
think
doing
so.
that. No.
You couldn't beef over fruit? You couldn't do that?
What was your job when you were 18?
I was a lifeguard. I was saving lives.
What was I doing when I was 18? I had just moved to Mississippi. I think I was working at Western Sizzling. I was working at a steakhouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was a hostess at Olga's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Can we give a shout out to the guys who are producing this over at WDIV?
Absolutely.
You remember when we had Jeremy Allen on the podcast way back when he first started this? He was a sports producer over there, and he was basically the guy who just said, "I want to do a podcast." And he started doing a podcast. Season 1 of Shattered was about the Skelton children.
Yeah, the
right?
kidnapping.
The 3 boys who were kidnapped, and he went in search of them. And then they did season 2, what was it? The Oakland County.
Season 2 was White Boy Rick, I think.
Oh, right. Season 2 was White Boy Rick. Season 3 was the
Oakland County Child Killer.
And they just got bigger and bigger. But I think also just everybody over there, Zach Rosen and everybody really got invested in podcasts. And you can hear the production value
Yeah,
they
the
put into
production
this,
is
the
great,
actors and all this. So.
Like, I'm about to go subscribe.
You should, yeah.
You should. You
It's
absolutely
good.
should.
Pick it up from season 1.
We were at the preview party over at Andiamo, right up the road here, which is actually the last place that anybody ever saw.
Yeah, when it was
Jimmy
Macus
Hoffa.
Red Fox
wow.
restaurant. Yeah. There was some other things that's interesting with The Irishman, the movie. movie. Just simple stuff that they didn't depict correctly, like the color of the car and things that are well known.
Yeah, they were pointing out that.
Yeah, so I don't like that stuff when there's not.
So if you want to know the real deal,
listen to the podcast.
Exactly.
You gotta listen to the podcast.
WDIV.
All right, one thing that we're still doing here in 2020 with the podcast is we are still doing rapid fire recommendations. What this is a game. You've actually played it before, Josh.
Yes, I have last time. I was here, sir.
We're going to ask you for a series of rapid fire recommendations. You just tell us the first thing that comes to mind. Cool. Are you ready?
Hopefully I'm ready. The music scared me. Sound like there's pressure on me now.
Here we go. You have spent an awful lot of time in Detroit dive bars telling jokes. Do you have a favorite dive bar that you're going to miss when you go out to L.A.?
New Way. I love New Way. Open mic, and the people don't care about the show, but once you laughing and you get them laughing, they pay attention. So it's something about turning those people into real audience members.
So this is over in Ferndale. Talk a little bit about what happens there on Monday nights at New Way.
If you're listening and you want to start comedy, that's the place I would suggest you go because it's an open mic in every sense of the word. You go there to get good. You don't go in there to try to get no laughs or you do your best set. You go in there to try material out and see if it's going to work. And once you're there, they plug you to everything. So you going to know all the black rooms at, all the mainstream rooms at, everything. So it's just the perfect spot to start at.
Incubator.
Yeah, it's the spot connected to everything.
So now that you're leaving, who would you say are the funniest comedians in Detroit?
Undiscovered. Who's giving you title?
Who are your successors?
Oh, wow. I ain't did nothing yet to be successed.
Well, let's pretend. Let's jump ahead a little.
All right. I mean, the people that's still here, that's pretty funny. Mike Leary is one of the funniest comedians in the country. I don't think a lot of people know about him yet. He do a lot of clean comedy, but he definitely did. He hosted like one of the more tougher rooms in the country. I'm talking about like drug dealers and everything was in there. And funny thing, he one of the funniest clean comedians in the country. So Mike Leary, Blaine Hill is super funny.
He's leaving too, I saw.
Oh, well, take him off the list then.
He's skipping out of town. He is very funny.
Is he going to LA as well?
I don't know where he's going. I saw something that said that he was leaving town
Blaine
too.
might be leaving. We on the same, I think we might have been on because we was in the newspaper because he was opening up the month. Well, it's Thursday, and mine was ending it, so I don't know if y'all might have got confused.
You guys should talk. Yeah. Maybe you can carpool out to L.A.
Don't play. I will, Blaine. Holla at me if you're listening.
They have lanes for people who do that out there.
If you have more than one.
HOV lanes.
Yeah.
Me and you. Yeah. So let's take Blaine off since he's leaving. Mike Leary's very funny. Oh, man, y'all really put me in the spot here. I mean, it's a lot of funny people here, so I'm just going to throw some people out there. Mike Leary's very funny. He's still here. Brett Mercer's super funny. Diego's super funny. And
where are the ladies?
I was just finna roll one now. Sam Rager.
All right.
Yes, we've had her on the podcast.
Very funny.
In fact, her album is in a bonus episode in our
super funny and the sweetest human being on the planet, but hilarious.
What is the biggest misconception about Detroit that you want to dispel when you meet people out there?
The biggest misconception is that we just a bunch of thugs and like it's just super tough to live here, and it's like, no, there's some beautiful stuff happening in Detroit. Like, you know, it's hard like it's anywhere else. You go anywhere, it's a hood. So I think people have that misconception that like it's Gotham City here and we blowing up hospitals. You know, it ain't like that. We working on it. It's good.
What are you gonna miss in Detroit in terms of food?
Coney Island.
Which ones?
All of them. You know what I'm saying? Like to be able to get up and go somewhere and this man can make you whatever you want. French toast, lobster tails. Like it's no other place you can say you can go and that's where it's happening at. Like you can, when you go to, I remember I take people from out of town to Coney Island. They were like, so they have everything.
Everything.
You want some cereal? They have it there. So Coney Island, Just Pizza. Just to be specific, Just Pizza is the truth.
When you want somebody to send you a care package out there in LA with stuff from home, stuff that's not food, so it won't rot in the mail. Mm-hmm. What are you going to ask them to send you?
Better Made chips, Red Hot, Coke, Faygo, and maybe, you said I can send them food. Those would be the two things then, right there. And I think Sweet Baby Ray's, that barbecue ain't ours. I was going to give us credit for something we didn't have. Butter Made hot chips, Faygo, Coca-Cola, and Sweetwater wings. I'll do that.
Nice. If you could have lunch with any Detroiter, dead or alive, who would it be?
Axel Foley.
Oh,
Really?
I know who. Yes,
That's funny.
From Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly
Yes,
Hills Cop,
yeah.
even though he really, he a fictitious
his-
character. But
yeah.
if I had to say a real person, I would probably say Mayor Coleman Young, because black people hold him up to a hurt. Like, he was our Obama. Like, and he was like a tough old SOB. So I think him, just because I would like to talk to him and see what it was like back when Detroit was like becoming Detroit that we know now. So him.
All right, Josh Adams, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. This is our first
great.
week back. Anytime you're back in town, you are welcome to join us. We love having you on.
Absolutely. We got to hear the updates. Like, we got
Yeah, most definitely. Like,
But
when
we're
I come
behind
back.
you all the way, wishing you all the luck
We
in
really
the
are.
world.
Becky, stop. You're gonna make me cry.
No, seriously, like, you're such a great representative of Detroit.
You're gonna make me
And
cry.
No, and I will say this. I mean, really, I've seen a lot of local comedians. You've got, if anybody's got a shot, you've got it. I mean, you have the gift. So I want to wish you the best of luck. If people want to see that gift, couple of opportunities. Let's talk about these two shows. The Senate Theater. When is that show?
Oh, the Redford
Redford.
Theater.
I'm sorry, the Redford Theater.
Yeah,
Yes, the Redford Theater.
That's on the 25th. This should be a comedy special hosted by me. On the show, Jason Jamerson, who's producing it. Mike Leary, and Josiah Jones and JD DeSmart. That's on the 25th at the Redford Theater.
Got it. And then the other show is at the Independent in Hamtramck.
Independent.
When's that
Hamtramck.
happening?
That's on the 30th and 8 o'clock. The first show is on its way to being sold out. They adding a second show, so get your tickets, man. Come see what everybody talking about.
All right, Josh. Best of luck. We're going to close out here the week with another song. Becky, people can submit their songs if they want to be on the podcast. If you're a local artist or musician, just go to thedebriefdetroit.com and follow the instructions. It's real easy to submit your song.
super easy. Please do. We're looking for all genres, all types of bands, all types of singers. So please send them in. The song I have for you today is called Alive in Limbo. It's by a band called the Asphalt Flowers. And if you like the Doors and that kind of look from the 70s, I think you're gonna like them. So they have a performance tomorrow, Saturday, January 25th. They're headlining the Outer Limits Lounge there in Hamtramck.
Nice. We'll check it out. Good luck, Josh.
Best of luck.
Good luck on y'all, man. Restarting this and revamping this, man. Y'all keep listening to this, share and subscribe, man. They're great representatives of the city. All you artists, y'all need to get up here. This is the spot.
Oh, now you're gonna make us cry.
Chill out, y'all. Need to get
Until next time, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.